let's jump into what exactly we have on our plate for these two teams.
Such a historic night. T1 looking for a 10th title for Faker, and of course so many of these Gen G players trying to get their first year. Fastest best of 5 in LCK history T1 takes over Kwangdong Freaks to get here.
And that's also very representative of what we're expecting here today. Even with that miracle comeback, which lost Atlas's hair, literally, a gold grab like this really is an indication of the tenacity of T1, or Gen G rather, but I don't think tenacity is going to be enough here.
It's a really tough matchup, right? And it starts in the top lane here, right? And this is something that was discussed in the Trash Talk interview, and it's been on a lot of analyst minds. Nemesis mentioned this as well in the pre-show, is the difference between these two players in current form is pretty massive. Yes, Doran is the veteran, but he has looked weaker, especially when under pressure, whereas Zeus is really actually coming into his own. We've been saying that all season long, but he's reached peak form when it matters most.
Key thing to me is that Zeus, even if he falls behind in lane, will be very stable going into the mid to late, going into team fights, whereas Doran has a tendency to die like 5 more times.
Yeah, and, you know, they've been able to use that to their advantage against a team like Damankia, but again, against T1, it will be difficult to lose anything and hope to come ahead in this one. Obviously, Doran has had his fun on this champion and many others in the past. We're just hoping that he's at tip-top shape here for this finals.
Jace priority between these two is definitely going to be pretty massive. But let's talk about the jungle matchup now, because Owner is playing his second finals. He was defeated, of course, by Damankia last summer, but he actually didn't get nervous. He kept his composure, and he said he feels very calm going into tonight's matchup as well. But he's up against a player who's won titles, the only player on Gen 2 who actually has picked up 3 across 3 different organizations, including his opponent's team.
As good as a split I think Penis has had, he has had a lot of ups and downs. Whereas for Owner, everyone has a few bad games every now and then, but it's really hard to find him, especially when he's playing his trademark Lee Sin. We already talked about, he himself mentioned it as well. And he made us forget about Canyon's lead, and that's not an easy task.
Yeah, and, you know, we talk about matchups, but this one might be the biggest of them all. Faker looking for his 10th title versus Chovy looking for his first. And so far in best of 5, Faker absolutely has his number. It has not been close.
Across several eras and several teams as well. I mean, those are the players that we had on screen just moments ago. Some Griffin players, right? Viper in that series. They played against each other so many times. Look at Faker's LeBlanc record, by the way. Definitely going to be an extremely high-profile champion for him. Might even be taken in the first banning phase away from him. But he's got such a large champion pool. He played 73, or 72, excuse me. Might see 73 tonight. Unique champions this, across his career. Several of them this season.
And whereas the biggest role of Chovy over Faker has always been the laning phase, this is the one split where Faker's laning phase has actually been extremely consistent. But on the flip side, if you look back to those key plays that were found by Chovy that we're going to be looking at right here, this catch on Canyon might be the game-winning play for them. If this charm doesn't hit, maybe Canyon can kite it out. Maybe they get the Baron after all. And he has been working so much to have a bigger impact even outside of the laning phase.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Chovy. You know, he is a fantastic laner, but he's also got some of the best hands in the game. So, you know, he's not as consistent, I suppose you could say, as Faker in this split specifically, but the guy, he can pull off some pretty insane stuff.
Now, what's most concerning, I think, is the bot 2v2 or Gen G here. This is where Gumayusa and Keria have the most duo kills in the bottom lane. Keria and Lehens have a pretty big champion. Ocean, both of them first and second, only separated by 1 champion here. That's Zac that was played by Keria. But if Ruler falls behind in this 2v2, or if there's a poor laning trade and they actually can't get prio on that first Rift Herald, which Gen G has given up a lot, that's where T1 snowballs lead so quickly, and it's often decided by a win, a key trade in the bottom side.
Keria's roam timers have been so incredibly good this split, and while he's been bolstering a really big champion, he doesn't need it. He can just play Nautilus and still 1v9, still rack up the POGs, and with Guma by his side, a year ago, Guma at times had issues turning laning leads into actual impact on the game, and ever since that has been fixed, he's just been in a split where both Ruler and Def played incredible, the best carry within the LCK, and that's just so hard to imagine Gen G being actually able to match that, even, again, with how good Ruler has been playing. It's just...
Yeah, it's kind of insane. You know, Ruler and Lehens a fantastic bottom lane. Lehens has played his fair share of weird stuff, but hasn't been as dominant as Keria, and Keria even said it himself in the video. He's like, yeah, I think I'm a couple tiers higher than Lehens right now. And honestly, I'm not really one to argue with him here.
Yeah, I really am not as well. He's the split MVP, and the first support to ever pick that up. And take a look at some of Ruler's stats here and some of his champions. He's played a lot more diverse champions this season than he has in the past, and I do think that if they want to move away from bottom side, we might see him play, as we saw Duck Dom attempt, you know, something like the Ziggs, something like the Ezreal here on the bottom side, his Xayah, which he had a very fantastic performance on as well. Definitely something to look at as we head into these first few drafts.